My late father's name was Zalman Matzkin. He said, you need to know. So I was, I guess, already high school, or perhaps even after high school, that one of the days he said, you need to know the entire story. I had a family, I had a wife, I had children, so that's when he told me. My father stayed quite long in the little village, and then they were taken to the ghetto. Towards the end of the ghetto, they together with other Jewish people, were taken to Panau. During the first months, they were asked to cut down trees. There was a big forest around, and they were not told what the trees were to be used for. But they, for several months, cut down actually the trees from the forest. They prepared logs, and towards the end of 1943, somewhere in December, the beginning of 44, they were told what the purpose of those logs were. The German officer at the time told them that around 120,000 Jews were killed by the Lithuanians. At the beginning, they used to say they were killed by the Lithuanians, and they were buried in those pits, in the oil cisterns, and that their job would be to dig them out and burn them before, so nothing would be left. At that time, they realized that he always used to tell me that the first day they were told what they were going to do, they realized that when they will be done, they will be killed, because they would be the only living people to tell what was there. So he used to tell me that they all realized, not just himself, the entire group there realized that they would live as long as there would be corpses to dig out and burn, but towards the end, obviously, they will also be killed. And that's why they started thinking of how to escape. They used to burn, he said, about 200 corpses on each layer of wood, of logs. And they used to put like 10 layers, so it was about 2,000 corpses plus or minus a day. So it took them quite a long time to dig those people out and burn them. At the beginning, their job was to dig them out, and later on, he was assigned to burn them, put some gasoline and burn the corpses. I think he found his two children. I'm not sure, but I know for sure that he found his wife, and he found other family members, and that others in the group were also found other members of their own family. He told me that they were obviously contemplating many ways how to escape, but at the end they knew that the only way they could try and escape was to dig a tunnel. And he also always described that at the end of the day they were brought down with a ladder to the bottom of the pit. The ladder was taken away, so there was no way they could climb it up, because it was quite a deep cistern, quite a deep pit. So they realized that they would have to dig. At the beginning, he told me not everybody was happy with the idea. They didn't think that it would succeed. But there was a small number of people that decided that was the only way. And he said the more they dug, the more people joined. He told me that they had like a spoon or a plate, and with the spoon and the plate they used to dig every day, and then when they were brought up through the ladder, they used to get rid of the sand or the rubble. He said that they were having the feeling that it was towards the end. They were finishing the job. There were no more corpses to be dug out. They understood that, as I said, once they would finish the job, they would be killed, and they knew they had to do it. He said they were looking for the darkest night they could, and the darkest night was on the 7th day of Pesach, which was almost towards the end of the Jewish months. So it was dark enough, and they decided that would be the days. They decided ahead of time. And at that particular day, they prayed, and none of them was religious, but some of them, or one of them was more religious, so they prayed together with him. And they were waiting for sundown, and during the night they escaped. He said the Germans, it took seconds before they started shooting, and there was light like midday. He used to describe it. There was so much light, they didn't know where to run, and he was shot in his leg. The partisans found them. They were hiding in the bushes or wherever, and the partisans were actually sent to look for them. I found out about Ponaues when I was 10, 12 years old. When I realized those people who gathered in our place who were these friends. They used to come once a year at the last day of Passover to celebrate their freedom. So they used to come with the families and kids. That's how I knew the rest of them. He had the energy to start anew. After everything that happened to him, he came over here towards the end of 1949, and in April 50 he married my mother, and they started anew and decided he wanted a new family, and he wanted a kid, etc. So he was quite special. For him it was very important that he had a son. The name was to be continued. I was the only son, so out of my father's 6 brothers and sisters that were there before the Holocaust, I'm the only one alive.